before I get to assembling this thing, I thought I'd show off a little bit of what I've been doing with this Mitsubishi Cyclone manifold, which has, well, what amounts to the same thing as the Toyota T-Viz, which is variable length runners via these butterfly valves. Due to the fact that it's not available in the US, when I broke this surface, these two parts, the gasket shredded. So I had to cut my own because I don't know where to get a new unit. In case you're wondering, you remove the studs, very firmly hold a piece of gasket material down, and then use a small ball peen hammer and tap around the edges. And the edge of the manifold will actually damn near cut out the hole for you. Or if you don't feel comfortable smacking on it that hard, it will at least mark it. And so you just tap around all the bolt holes and all of the actual openings, and you're good to go. Then I put the studs back in and, tried to move around the gasket a little bit and make sure that no matter where it was, whether it's being indexed by the studs, that it didn't get in the way of the ports. And it did, so, a little bit of dorking around with an X-Acto knife, and we're good now. So, just in case you're wondering how to do gaskets that you can't just buy, that's one way at least. Now, this is where most of the time got spent. Now, there's two good reasons to take this thing apart. First off, it gets filthy, and all the inner workings get gummed up with carbon and soot and whatnot. But it's one of these deals. Well, like while you're at it, kind of thing. You may as well just get in there and do a little bit of porting, especially seeing as the shaft and the flapper isn't in the way. So that's what I did, as much as I could. There's almost nothing you can do with this part because they're machined and they match up just nice. This is actually very difficult because the long runners especially, you almost can't get a rotary tool in there far enough. But I'm pretty sure I got the entire outside radius. So I guess we're good there. But just some notes about taking this thing apart. Over here, there was a press-in brass plug. So I had to drill it out. And it just seemed reasonable to put a regular old plug in there. Tap it, MPT. I believe it's 8th. Can't even remember now. 1/8 inch is awfully small. Isn't it? Maybe it is. And this was also a brass plug. I had a piece of copper laying around. And what is under there? There is a what amounts to two very deep screwdriver slots, flat tip screwdriver slots, on either end of the two shafts. This is one shaft, that's another shaft, and then there's this really nice spring clip that you press. You push the shafts together, press the clip in, and and it holds them together. But it indexes them rather. It doesn't really hold them together. You got to make sure you've got your plug-in or the flappers themselves to keep them from sliding back and forth and disengaging, because that would be a freaking nightmare since I hammered that thing in there. But yeah, it took a long time and must have been about 30 Q-tips with some lacquer thinner to clean out the bearing surfaces for the shaft all the way through. And then of course, lube them up before you reassemble, and also make sure that your shafts don't have any burrs on them, because they will really screw up the bearing surfaces being just aluminum. And, oh yeah, and then getting the things apart. The screws are like smashed on the back side. So they crush and bell out the end of the screw so that it can't possibly back out after the screws are installed. So you actually have to use a Dremel tool and grind off the backs of the screws a little bit so that you can even get them out. And reassembly, I actually got a, what was it, a 3 millimeter by 0.6. I forget the thread pitch exactly, but very, very small 3 millimeter screw, and I chased the threads both in the shafts and on the screws themselves, and then I used red Loctite to reassemble. I'm pretty sure they're not going to come out then. And yeah, now I get to put the thing back together.